Happy-go-lucky me.
Hey guys, it's Heather here, and today I'm coming at you with something I haven't done for quite a while, and that is a Clash Royale video. Now, I love Clash Royale, I play it every day. I am a free-to-play player, I haven't spent a dime on the game, so everything that I have is come from just collecting chests, doing my crown chests every day, and that's about it. So the deck that I'm going to feature today only has one legendary in it. It's the only legendary that I have, the Ice Wizard. Oh wait, I do have the Lava Hound. I forgot, I have the Lava Hound. I have never played the Lava Hound, but I do have the Lava Hound as well. So, but this deck is going to have the Ice Wizard. That's it, and you can swap him out for something else. I've played this deck without the Ice Wizard, and he's not a huge vital part of it. You could throw in guards, you could throw in fire spirits. So other than that, this deck is just made of commons and rares. There's no epics in it either, so I was able to get these cards to a pretty decent level. So that's really helped. And then this is the deck that I use to push over the 3,000 mark to get to the Legendary Arena. And it's taken me beyond that up into the 3,100s, so it's still doing well for me at the low end of Legendary. And I even dropped down to about the 2,800s after this most recent update where some changes were made specifically to the Royal Giant that would affect this deck, and I was still able to push back up into the 3,000s, no problem. I've done tournaments with 150 people, taken 20th place, so I feel really confident about this deck. At least it works really well for me. And I haven't seen anybody else use a deck quite like this. I'm sure there are people who have, but because I haven't seen it, I'm gonna go ahead and call this deck Double Trouble. I think any deck can work for a person. I think the main thing is that you gotta play your deck over and over again and just get into that rhythm, know exactly what to play to counter what, and that's really what matters. But for me, I'm a really aggressive player. I don't like the defense. I don't like using an elixir pump and having to wait so long to be able to get the extra 2 elixir back. So for me, I like the offense, I like the pushing, and so with this deck, there is no buildings. There is no defensive buildings, and it's very heavy offense. And so that's why I'm calling it Double Trouble, because we have 2 giants. You have both the Royal Giants and the regular giant. You have the minions and the minion horde. You have the arrows and the zap. And then kind of following up a little bit the twin, I have the mini P.E.K.K.A. and the Ice Wizard. So I'll take you through some of this gameplay that got me to the Legendary Arena, and you can kind of see how I play this deck and what I used to counter and how I used to push. So the other thing I like about this deck is I always seem to have a good starting card. I either want to start with a giant, either of the giants, or start with my Ice Wizard. As long as I can get one of those 3 cards up front, I'm usually pretty good. And I like to start that back by the tower because this deck is all about being able to build up as much elixir as possible and doing a huge push. So once I have that giant out front, I like to have the Ice Wizard behind, and then also, if I can get that mini P.E.K.K.A. in there, if I can get those guys to the tower's gone. And if my opponent starts with an elixir pump, he's pretty much dead. I've pretty much taken his first tower just with that one move. He's lost 5 elixir. I've got 10 elixir. That means I can drop 2 of my giants, and there's no way with 5 elixir he can defend against 2 giants. And so because I don't have any defensive buildings, if I need any kind of defense, my giants become defensive buildings, as everything is just more a distraction. If I can use it to distract enough that my tower and then my minions or zap, whatever I need to use, is able to get those troops down, then whatever I have left is just built upon my next push to be able to head to the tower. So there's definitely combinations that are really difficult to defend against. Poison's pretty rough on the minions, anything that does splash damage against them, because the minions are what's going to take out those kind of horde troops that are going to be stopping my giants. So this deck is all about trying to have those bodyguards in front that can block for my P.E.K.K.A., for my minions, whatever else these troops are that do a lot of damage to a tower so they can get in. Yes, you know, some people don't like the Royal Giant. I don't care. Some people don't like the legendaries and how easy it is for those who aren't free to play to get those. So I'm totally fine with playing the Royal Giant. I'm totally fine with playing whatever card I get. The other thing I like to do too is if they start pushing on the other side, as long as I feel like I have enough troops to defend against it, I like to send a push up against the other tower and make them have to split. So if I can defend against their push, plus I can send troops alongside the other tower and be able to take it out, definitely a great way to go with this deck because I have so much offensive power. But like I said, it really comes down to your style of play. This can be a really difficult deck to get used to if you're used to having some defense in there, because there is absolutely no defense in this deck. So maybe even a better name for this would be the defenseless deck. But it's been able to hold up really well against decks that are stacked with legendaries. It holds up well against the princess because I have arrows that are high enough that can take out a level 2 princess. It holds up great against the miner because I typically have enough cards that I can use to take him out. You know, if I can get him in early enough, I can even keep the miner completely off my tower. I have so many options to be able to do essentially the same push of attack. I don't have to wait for my deck to cycle through to get me back to my giant. It's like I have 2 options. I have 2 cards for this very simple push. I have a lot of options to be, I don't really have to wait for the deck to cycle back. Whatever I have in my hand usually is going to work as some kind of combo. I'm going to have one of the giants. I'm going to have the Ice Wizard or some minions, something that's going to do splash, that's going to hit air and ground. I'm going to have the high hitting power of the P.E.K.K.A. If I have the Ice Wizard with the minions, that works as well. So there's a lot of different variations that all essentially do the same thing. I have great cards to defend with, cards that are doing splash damage, cards that do a lot of damage. The other great thing is if they send in barbarians against my giant, all I have to do is a zap and then my P.E.K.K.A. can one hit them. So those 2 spells, the zap and the arrow, are able to do a lot to be able to take out those little troops that they're using to stop my giant push. So things that get a little bit tough to defend against. Spawner decks have given me a little bit of trouble in this. 3 Musketeers can kind of give me a little bit of trouble. If I use a zap and a minion on top of them, that will work. Having the double Prince deck can also be a little bit rough as well. But, saying that, they can be a little bit rough. It doesn't necessarily beat this deck. If I'm playing really well, then I can beat those decks. If I'm playing poorly, then pretty much any deck can beat me. I'm interested to see how it works for you. I haven't seen anybody play a deck like this before. Usually it throws people off. They're pretty surprised, especially when they see the second giant come out, because you're usually not seeing both giants played at the same time. I think my biggest issue with this deck is because I am such an aggressive pushing player, is that once I have that first tower, to not just sit back and defend. Just, throw my giants up the lane and just let them take the hits. I always want to try and go for the next tower. And maybe that comes from a place of playing the game just to get my crown chest. A lot of times I didn't care whether I won or lost. All I cared about was getting the extra towers so I could get my crown chest faster, because it didn't really matter where I fell in the rankings. I always knew that I was going to be above about 2,500 trophies. But now it matters. Now I need to be okay with just getting the 1 tower and then holding back. And then this deck does extremely well to defend it, because you can just send out those giants and even the Ice Wizard and just keep those troops completely distracted. So definitely some things to look for with this deck. If they drop an elixir pump right off the bat, you want to push. Just get your giant out front, get your P.E.K.K.A., your mini P.E.K.K.A., get your Ice Wizard, and those 3 cards together are going to take the tower, and then just keep pushing. You got your zap there to be able to stop whatever he throws at you. If he's throwing a mini P.E.K.K.A. at you, or guards or whatever, drop your minions. Just your regular minions can take all that out. If he drops a princess, use your arrows to take it out. So there's a lot of things that you can do to knock off about, anywhere from 2,000 up off of that tower just because they dropped the elixir pump. And then this deck is all about sitting back, seeing what your opponent's going to do. I'm constantly waiting until I have full elixir. And as soon as I have full elixir, even, close to about 9, just to make sure that I don't go over on my elixir, drop that giant, drop the Ice Wizard far enough back so that you can start getting your troops onto the playing field. But this is also a really fun way to play because it's not a lot of sit back and wait till you get to that 1 minute left. You're playing the whole time, you're aggressively pushing, and I think that's why I like to play this deck because it's fun. It keeps me in there, there's a huge adrenaline rush. You know, I've played decks before where I was playing with defensive buildings like the bomb tower and the cannon and the Tesla, and it just didn't fit my style of play. But what you need to do, I feel, with Clash Royale is find the style of deck that you like to play and what works for you, and then play it. Just play it over and over and over again, and you'll know exactly what troops to use, what buildings to use to combat any other thing that's thrown at you and be able to get that slight advantage. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. Let me know what you think of Clash Royale videos and if you want to see more of those on my channel. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter. That's at Clash Tutor on Twitter, because every Saturday I'm going to be running a Clash Royale tournament and I'm going to post the password to that tournament on my Twitter. And so you could join that, and hopefully I'm going to be playing in a lot of those tournaments, so I'll be able to play with you guys. I'm looking forward to this. So that's going to be every Saturday, and those will be starting about 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, trying to find a good time that would work out for most people around the world. And yeah, so check me out there and come play with me. All right guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.